You know, Russia, if they supposedly have so much clout in Syria, then they need to do their job, because they're the ones that told us that they would handle the chemical weapons. They would get them out. They'd make sure nothing happened. All they've done is 7 times veto against Syria every time they do something to hurt their own people. And so Russia absolutely has not done what they're supposed to do. The chemical weapons attacks are not stopping, and it's brutal to see what they're doing to their own people.
President Trump has been critical, of course, of what's going on in Syria, of Assad, and he has been critical of President Obama, saying that he didn't act enough. I'm paraphrasing him, back in 2012 and 2013. But we have not heard much from him about Russia. Why? Or maybe I should say, let me put it this way. What do you think we should do about Russia? And in your last response, you put the target on Russia. What should we do about them?
Well, I think, first of all, keep in mind that I work for the Trump administration. And if you haven't heard me talk about Russia...
Hold on, stop. We got to get people fix these problems, you know?
Yeah, I have hit Russia over the head more times than I can count. And it's because if they do something wrong, we're going to call them out on it. And if they want to help us defeat terrorism, fine. But the things they've done with Crimea and Ukraine, the things they've done in how they've covered up for Assad, those types of things, we're not going to give them a pass on. And so I have had conversations with the president where he very much sees Russia as a problem.
Russia says that the ones with the chemical weapons was not the Syrian government, but that it was the rebels. So how do you, in your job, how do you sort of impinge on the Russians when they say that it's not their pal Assad, but rather it's the rebels?
Well, we called them out on it because they basically said there was this big container of chemical weapons that ISIS had. And there's not a picture, there's not an ounce of proof. They just make things up. And that's what we said.
But I'll tell you that every time that, that I post on Facebook about people in a particular part of the world needing help or something, I can't tell you how many emails I get or posts that say, well, what about people here? And that is a headwind that that a lot of people run into when they talk about leading in the world.
We just have to tell the story. We have to tell the story. And when you tell the story, it's hard for people to look the other way. It's like today when we were telling the story about those children that had the chemical weapons attack. I mean, I held up pictures. They needed to see it. They needed to feel it. And they couldn't, and they tried to turn away. And that's when I said, look at these pictures. You have to make them feel it to understand the horror or the tragedy that's going on.
And I always sort of wonder, how do you rationalize dealing with some of these people who are dictators?
Again, you call them out when they do something wrong, and you work with them when you can find ways to work with them.
I would find that frustrating. It's like
we have to express America's values. We are always the moral conscience of the world. And so our focus is to make sure that we're...
Anyway,